Warning: this manhwa contains violence, blood, or graphic images that may be upsetting or triggering to some viewers. And remember, this is a fictional story. Do not repeat these actions you're about to see in this video. The story begins with thousands of masters going up against the demon named Fang Yuan, while they shout their grudges and states his evil deeds. He had killed endless amount of people just to cultivate his Chuncho cicada. To which he responded that they are just bunch of hypocrites and that the reason they're all here is to kill someone under the name of justice just so they can snatch away his treasure for themselves. As he recites his poems, he throws away the Chuncho cicada, a goo that can reverse time, so they can have it since he is going to die anyway, while most of them fight each other to get the cicada, but turns out it was a fake and exploded. Now they realize he is still plotting against them even when he's about to die, therefore they decide to destroy him altogether. But they were too late, as he activated already his cicada while he shouts that Fang Yuan does not regret stepping on the demon's path. He had long foreseen this end, and now, it's time for him to use this Chuncho cicada, as he thinks if the Chuncho cicada that he cultivated is effective, then he shall once again step on the demon's path in his next life. While everyone tried to launch themselves to stop him, but they ultimately failed as Fang Yuan made an explosion, turning most of the masters into dust. The other masters that survived could only sigh and worry. If the rumors about the Chuncho cicada isn't false, then very soon this wicked demon will return to devastate the world again. 500 years ago, in Guyue Mountain, the elders prayed that this upcoming awakening ceremony will bring them many new talented young bloods and hope. After that, anxious can be seen on their face because tomorrow is their annual awakening ceremony again. As they converse about the other villages, the Bai village and Xiong village both had many new outstanding talents appear for the last several years, and yet their Gu clan hasn't had any geniuses appear for the past 3 years. Especially Bai village's Bai Ningbing. His aptitude is too frightening. Even some of the older generations feel pressured by him. In just a short period of 2 years he became a rank 3 Gu master. He is the most outstanding new blood in the younger generations. But this year their newcomer aren't bad either. It's not like they have no hope at all. A young genius appeared in their clan. He was able to speak in 3 months and run by 4. He was reciting poetry at 5, and he harbors great ambition too. Such gifted children usually have good aptitude, but it's a pity that both of his parents passed away early. Right now they are under the foster care of their aunt and uncle. If they can properly nurture him, he'll definitely become a great weapon in the future. While the clan elder heard this, he believes they must be talking about Guyu Fang Yuan, the Fangji family's genius, while he smiles with hope and thinks that child is very bright. If he shows greater potential, then he would become their clan's new banner of hope. Afterwards he declares the meeting to be adjourned, but before he let them leave, he reminds them that they can compete all they want, but they must do it fair and square. They cannot use any underhanded methods to damage their clan's unity. To which they agreed. While they leave, he looks up to the sky as he laughs because even the heavens cannot seem to lay rest while he believes that Fang Yuan will be their clan's new hope. Meanwhile, Fang Yuan couldn't believe it while he laughs in realization that this is Guyue Mountain. He went back to 500 years. The Chuncho cicada actually worked, because he haven't cultivated his Chuncho cicada for long. He didn't think it would be working already. There's never a dead end for anyone in this world. As long as he wants to keep walking forward, there will always be a path in front of him. Although he will have to start over again from beginning, but so what of it? And once again he shall walk on the path of evil. Even through death there is no regret. A few moments before he reincarnated, his soul wanders the river of time. While he wanders through pieces of his memory, they were only 3 years old and their parents have already passed away. Their aunt and uncle adopted them, but their uncle abused them. While he pleads his auntie to stop his uncle, he sees that even his auntie got some enjoyment through their torture. So his past self decides that if they want them to make their life easier for them, then he must make them see him in a different light. So he decides to use some of his otherworldly knowledge. These poems weren't written by him. He merely recited some popular ancient poems that people have long forgotten about. But because he exposed some of his talent, he also incurred some jealousy from his younger twin brother, and in order to protect his secret that he came from another world, he can only wear a cold, indifferent expression on his face. At the same time his soul sees this, shock and questions filled his thoughts. Then he remembers now that he was originally a normal scholar living in the human world. He came across this world through a lucky opportunity, enduring hardship for 300 years, and wandering around the world for another 200 years. 500 years worth of time was rather long, yet short, but as for why he came to this world, he can no longer remember. For everyone's so-called genius was merely just an intelligent, mature soul who recited a few popular poems from the ancient times that people had long forgotten about. Only people with first-class aptitude can be truly called a genius, while he was brought back to the past. He can't believe the legend was actually real, but it's a pity that he have lost the Chuncho cicada. Such a good goo didn't get to reborn with him, but that's also fine if he can cultivate one in his past life, then he can also cultivate one for this life. Moreover, he have retained his past life's memory. He can rise to the peak again and believes his future is very promising. Then his brother opened the door and asks that it's cold and windy at night. Why is he standing in the rain by the window? Fang Yuan asks if he needs something, to which he responds that he heard sounds coming from the rain, so he is here to close it, because tomorrow is the awakening ceremony. He doesn't want his brother to get sick right before it, and at the same time he praises his brother. But Fang Yuan expressed that what he's doing is unnecessary, and with a cold face he orders him to get out, in result scaring his brother, so he leaves. Then he lies on his bed while thinking. He is only a third-class talent at best, because the real first-class talent is his brother Guyu Fangzhen. The next day, his servant prepares some water for him to wash up right away. While she praises him, he could only think about Shinchuer, his aunt and uncle's watchai. Her mother, Nanny Shin, had spent a lot of effort on teaching her how to seduce men, and how he fell for her trap in his previous life and fell in love with her for real. But when she found out he was only a third-class talent, she immediately turned hostile and acted as if she didn't know him. While Chuer tries to seduce him, he denies her advances and leaves. As they stroll outside, the people couldn't help but compare the twins with each other, uplifting Fang Yuan and berating the other, while Fang Yuan could only think that it's always the people who have talent that incur jealousy and hate from others. That's why it's natural for everyone to turn against him the moment he revealed his third-class talent. In order to instigate a rift in their brotherly relationship, their adoptive parents gave him preferential treatment for everything. They paired him up with Shinsue and gave his younger twin brother a fat and old nanny. They were too inexperienced in his previous life, and his little brother was too naive and foolish. As a result, their adoptive parents successfully instigated a rift between them. However, in this life he can completely suppress Fangzhen, not to mention that little cheater Shinsue. Even his adoptive aunt and uncle and the clan elder, as long as he wants to, he can manipulate them through underhanded demonic methods and play the entire village in the palm of his hands like livestock. But they aren't worthy in the vast river of time. They are only small, side characters. Plotting against them would be too much of a waste of time. Although he says that, but if anyone dares to block his path, he will definitely make them wish they were dead. Then everyone arrived on time for the awakening ceremony. The academy elder decides to skip the boring talk and lead them to an underground cave. While telling the history and uses of the cave to them, they found this spirit spring inside this underground cave. It can be said that this spirit spring makes up the entire foundation of their Guyu clan, and it's solely because this spirit spring can produce a large number of fundamental stones that can be used to raise their cultivation, especially Gu masters. They need these spiritual stones the most, so he advises the children to remember that, no matter where they go, having resources is the most important priority of all. After that they arrived at the center, with a sea of moon orchid flower, while others were amazed. Fang Yuan was excited because this is the starting point for cultivation. Then the clan master decided to start the ceremony. So as they call their names, they must cross this river bank, walk as far as they can go. Of course, the farther they go the better. Up first, Guyu Chenbo was called. As he first stepped on the orchids he felt such a strong pressure. It almost feels like he is being crushed by a wall. But suddenly the pressure is starting to lighten up a bit. At the same time light covers him, and now he can finally move another step. While he struggles because he wants to change his fate, he doesn't want to become a lowly servant for the rest of his life. He wants to be able to control his own life, even if he have minimal talent, even if he can only be the lowest tier of Gu master. But Guyu Chenbo only took 3 steps. No talent to become a Gu master. After countless a failed attempt, it is Guyu Mabe's turn, and he walked 36 steps effortlessly, giving the elders hope. The others congratulate Elder Machin, while he boasted Chilean about his grandson. The clan leader ordered Mabe to come to him in order to take a look at his inner primeval sea. One's talent can be measured by 4 classes, from 1st class to 4th class. And people who walk less than 10 steps have no talent at all. People who walk 10 to 20 steps have a fourth-class talent and would need to cultivate for 3 years in order to become a rank 1 senior Gu master. They become a part of the family's foundation. People who walk 20 to 30 steps are third-class talents. They usually require 2 years of cultivation before they can become a rank 2 Gu master and build up the clan's backbone. People who walk 30 to 40 steps are second-class talents. They only need to cultivate for 6 to 7 years to become a rank 3 Gu master. They will most likely become our clan elder in the future. And people who can walk 40 to 50 steps have first-class talent. If one of these people appear, they'll certainly help their family prosper. These people will get first priority for everything, and roughly after 10 years of cultivation they can become a rank 4 Gu master. When that time comes they can even vie for the clan master's spot. But for every 10 people, more than half of them will have no talent. But the elders are still worried because it has already been half an hour but there hasn't been a single first-class talent yet, and most of them don't even qualify for any talent. Their Guyu clan's younger generations are getting worse and worse each year. But they can't help it. Their bloodline is getting thinner and thinner. Moreover, for the past few years our Guyu clan hasn't had any new rank 4 Gu masters to strengthen the bloodline, so this kind of result is only expected. Their 4th generation clan master was their only rank 5 Gu master, but it's a shame that he passed away at an early age and didn't leave behind any descendants, while they cursed that damnable flower wine monk. Meanwhile, next in line is Guyu Chichen. He also made 36 steps, another second-class talent. While they rejoice, Fang Yuan remembers he cheated during the awakening ceremony and got heavily punished for it. The truth is, Guyu Chichen is only a third-class talent, but his grandfather helped him fake his results. As a result, he appeared to have second-class talent during the test. Because Guyu Chilian and Guyu Machin had always opposed each other, these two old families are also the biggest forces in the Guyu clan. In order to suppress his competition, Guyu Chilian needed his grandson to possess a good aptitude. That's why Guyu Chilian helped him fake the results behind the scenes. And if he remembered correctly, if it weren't for that accident the truth wouldn't have been exposed either. So he decides to use the incidents to his advantage. Then next in line is Guyu Fang Yuan. This moment has finally arrived, and everyone has high hopes for him, while his brother is teary-eyed. But Fang Yuan knew what would happen as he walks on the Sea of Orchids. The overwhelming pressure in this flower sea originated from the Spirit Spring. The Spirit Spring is overflowed with qi, which in turn causes overwhelming pressure on the students walking on this flower sea. And when one can no longer endure this qi pressure, some Gu would appear, and these Gu are known as the Hope Gu. Each and every one of these light dots is a Hope Gu. They come from one of the oldest legend, the legend of Renzu. In the legend, the world had just newly formed itself and it was a land of savage wilderness. During this time the first human appeared. His name was Renzu, and he ate raw flesh and drank blood to survive. His lived an extremely difficult life, and there was a group of wild beasts called Kunjing that longed to eat him. While he was nearing death's door, and was pleading for his life, a light suddenly illuminates the place and incinerates the monsters. As soon as the light saved him, the Power Gu suggested that from today onwards, as long as he offer them his life, they can help him survive any hardship. Therefore he accepts, and offers his youth to the biggest Gu, in return giving him enormous energy. He relied on his newly acquired strength, and his life started to change for the better. He fought bravely and ruthlessly while killing many Kunjing, but soon he realized, power cannot solve everything. He needed to recover and cultivate, and not freely waste his life away. Not to mention, when facing an entire group of Kunjing, his strength alone was too small. Renzu reflected over this bitterly and decided to offer his prime middle life years to the most beautiful Gu of the three. Alas, the second Gu bestowed him wisdom, but good times never last. Renzu finally grew old. The light left him because he has nothing left to offer. Now surrounded by Kunjings, but unwilling to die yet, he noticed the little Gu, and asks it to leave, but it suggests if he offers himself to it, it can help him escape from these Kunjing. He responded that he has nothing left to give it. Both Power Gu and Wisdom Gu abandoned him, and right now he only have his old age left. Although he is being surrounded right now, he doesn't want to die right away, but if he offers his old age to it he would die immediately. He wished to live a little longer, even just a second longer. To which it responds, out of the three Gu, his wish is the smallest of them all. It just requires to give his heart, therefore he complies. To which the Gu incinerates the Kunjings. From that day onward, he knew when you're facing a predicament, you just need to give your heart to hope. At the same time, Fang Yuan has took 20 steps, and he knows he is nearing his limit, while the elders can see that the hope gu in Fang Yuan is not enough, and believes that this is definitely not the sign of a first-class talent. Meanwhile, Fang Yuan have only walked 23 steps, but suddenly at 27th steps his abdomen lit up. Now he knows his awakening is a success, and that there is hope for him to become immortal now. Awakening is a strange and mysterious process. It occurs inside one's body, but at the same time it doesn't use the same space as one's internal organs. You could say awakening occurs in a different space that was endlessly huge yet infinitely small. Some people call it the purple space and some call it the indigenous pool. However, most people know it as the primeval sea. During this process, the hope gu would burst and emit a layer of glowing light that surrounds one's body. It's exactly this layer of glowing light that supports the awakening space and prevents it from collapsing. And inside the awakening space is the green primeval sea. Only gu masters can form this green primeval essence. Each and every drop of these essences represents the essence, vitality, potential and soul of a gu master. This primeval essence is used by gu masters to raise their gu, which also means from today onward, he is back on the path of becoming a gu master. But as he thought, he couldn't take another step forward. Just like in his previous life, the elder asks him if he can't take another step. Therefore he turns around, shocking everyone, and making the elders disappointed and the students mock him, while Fang Yuan can see his past self, crying because he can't protect his little brother anymore. The current Fang Yuan tried to make peace with his past and moves on. While Gu Fangjing is called out next, so he went over but clumsily tripped and fell over the water, making the Fang family's twins a laughingstock. But Fang Yuan went to his little brother and picked him up, and says to him to go, because their future path will be an interesting one. As he leaves, Fangjing wonders why his brother can be so calm after knowing the fact that he's only a third rate. Then he stood up and take a step while deep in his own thoughts. He remembers the words from everyone who doubts him, and how everyone praises his brother. Everyone knows his aunt and uncle dotes on his brother more. It's because his brother is a genius, the hope of their clan. Then what about him? He's just a pebble that nobody notices. Fang Yuan's younger brother. Nobody even knows his name. As he remembers his brother's kindness, he was content in being an ordinary person. A genius is naturally different from others. He can't be like him, so he won't try to be like him. But it all changed when he overheard his uncle and aunt deciding to disown him after the ceremony. His thought filled with rage, while he blames his own brother and wishes he doesn't exist. But then he remembers Chuyer being so kind to him, and says she likes him more, giving him hope. But it all shattered in front of his eyes when he saw Chuyer seducing his brother. In result, he sees his brother as an obstacle and hates him even more, because he also wants to be respected by others. He also wants to be cared for. He doesn't want to be alone anymore. He wants to be seen. He wants to change everything, and in rage he opens his eyes, noticing everyone in shock on what's happening before their eyes. The fact that he had taken 43 steps, a first-class talent, while every elder fights over to adopt him. He now believes that God has answered his prayers, and thinks of his brother, because from now on everything will be different. He will show him who is the real genius here. He is no longer the huge mountain sheltering him from behind, and he will no longer be called Fang Yuan's younger brother. Everyone who have ridiculed him before, better remember this well from today onward. I am Gu Fangjing, while his gaze shine with a newfound hope. 1 week later, the teacher is lecturing about the gu and are a gift to them from the heaven and earth. Gu can come in various shapes and form, and they can be found in almost anywhere. They can be found in the soil, in the grass, or maybe even in the body of a beast. They can be inside birds and meadow snakes, or reside inside precious gems or demonic beasts. Anyway, gu are the essence of all living things. As humans continue to grow, they start to uncover more mysteries of gu. Those who cultivate learn to use their primeval essence to feed, refine and control these gu, and they call these people gu masters. Since they guys have successfully achieved awakening 7 days ago, they can now use your primeval seed to raise gu. Right now you're all rank 1 gu masters. Gu Mabe then asks elder teacher about the differences between a rank 1 and rank 2 gu master, to which he explains that gu masters have 9 ranks. The higher the rank, the stronger the gu master is, and each rank can be split into 4 different stages: beginner stage, middle stage, late stage and peak stage. And obviously the higher your aptitude the better chances you've got in climbing the ranks. For a 4th class talent your primeval C will only fill up to 20 to 30% of your primeval space and you can only be a rank 2 goo master at best. For a 3rd class talent your primeval C will only fill up to 40 to 50% of your primeval space and you can only be a rank 2 goo master at best, but if you're lucky you might even reach rank 3. As for a 2nd class talent your primeval C will only fill up to 60 to 70% of your primeval space and you can be a rank 4 goo master at best. As for 1st class talents your primeval C will fill up to 80 to 90% of your primeval C. Those people are natural born geniuses, the most gifted and most suitable to become goo masters. They can become rank 5 goo masters. As for rank 6 goo masters and above, they are all legends. He also don't know the details. They have never had a rank 6 goo master in our Gyu clan before, but they did have some great rank 5 and rank 4 goo masters. The students now knows the reason why Fang is taken care of by the elders, but at the same time is looking down at Fang Yuan, because he is wasting his time sleeping in class for the entire week. Not only that, they heard he's been wandering around the village at night lately. Apparently, he was getting drunk wasted outside. Good thing their village had been fairly safe for these past few years. While the students berates him, the elder teacher couldn't help but think that he was mistaken about him. How could this kind of person be a genius? If he can't even take a blow like this, fostering him with that kind of temperament will only end up wasting the clan's resources, and nothing good will come out of it. There were only 2 rank 5 goo masters in the entire history of our Gyu clan. The first one is our 1st generation clan leader. He was the founder of our Gyu village. The second person is our 4th generation clan leader. He had remarkable talent and even managed to reach the peak stage as a rank 5 goo master, while blaming it all on the flower wine monk for launching a surprise attack and killing their 4th generation clan leader that was a kind and merciful person. Meanwhile Fang Yuan overhearing this, now that he think about it, the battle between the 4th generation clan elder and that flower wine monk was a classic story in their village. Literally everyone in their village knows about this story. That flower wine monk was also a rank 5 goo master. He was famous among his demonic faction for committing evil deeds. Hundreds of years ago, the flower wine monk traveled to Qingmao Mountain and was about to commit crimes in their village. The result was, their 4th generation clan elder exposed him. They ended up having an earth-shaking battle. In the end, the flower wine monk was beaten to the point he had to beg for mercy on his knees. Their 4th generation clan elder was a merciful and kind person, so right when he was about to spare his life, the flower wine monk suddenly launched a sneak attack and inflicted fatal wounds to their 4th generation clan leader. Their 4th generation clan leader flew into rage and killed him right on the spot. However, his injuries couldn't be treated and thus, he died. Therefore, in the hearts of the Gyu clansmen, the 4th generation clan leader was a great hero who sacrificed his life for the village. While he wonders on where did the wine monk die, and where is his corpse, and why couldn't he find his corpse after searching the entire village? Because he needs to find the legacy he left behind. In his memory, about 2 months from now, there was a Gyu master from their clan who got his heart broken and started drinking a lot in the mountains. His heavy wine aroma started to attract liquor worms. The Gyu master was ecstatic, and wanted to catch the liquor worm, but it left immediately. The Gyu master chased after it endlessly. He followed the liquor worm's trail and discovered an underground hole entrance and went in. Liquor worms are an expensive type of goo, so the half-drunk Gyu master decided to risk his life and enter the underground cave. Afterward he found the flower wine monk's corpse and all the inheritance he had left behind. When the Gyu master returned to the village he reported his discoveries and immediately caused a huge stir in their clan. Later on, that Gyu master benefited much from it and his cultivation suddenly soared to the sky. His ex-lover changed her mind and reconciled with him. He ended becoming the talk of the town. Sadly, he only heard bits and pieces of this story from the others. He still don't know the exact location of that cave, and he had been buying lots of wine these days and getting drunk at night to attract those liquor worms, but none of his attempts have worked so far. If he could only find that liquor worm and refine it as his vital goo, that would be much better than their clan's moonlight goo. In a blink of an eye it's April already. He knows there's not much time left. The teacher is now teaching about primeval stone and what's its worth. And once class is over, all of you will go to the academy's goo room to pick a goo worm. And the first person to complete this will be rewarded with a generous sum of 20 spiritual stones. Then a student asks him what if they use a goo that is above their rank, to which he explains that for one to use a higher level goo they must pay a heavy price for it. Not only that, they still need to feed their goo. A lower ranked goo master often can't sustain the high cost of feeding a higher level goo. Thus, new goo masters would often pick a rank 1 goo worm as their first refined goo, unless they have special circumstances. Also, the first goo that a goo master refines will become their vital goo. Vital goo are interconnected with the goo master's life, meaning if their vital goo dies, its goo master will also suffer a heavy blow. Therefore you must protect your vital goo well. Then they went to the goo room. It is Fang Yuan's turn to pick. Before he had wanted to acquire flower wine monk's liquor worm as his vital goo, but he still haven't found his corpse yet. Therefore, just to be on the safe side, I'll pick a moonlight goo first. Moonlight goo are the most popular goo in their clan. Most people would choose this goo as their vital goo. These moonlight goo aren't natural born goo. They are manually manufactured by their Goo clan through a secret technique. It can't be found anywhere else. Therefore, one can say this moonlight goo is the symbol of our Goo clan. Although the moonlight goo is a specialty of our clan, a liquor worm is still more helpful to a goo master. After that, he went over to the store and bought 2 jugs of wine. He won't have enough spiritual stones to buy wine tomorrow, but the liquor worm still hasn't appeared yet. Right now I guess a lot of them are at home trying their best to refine their goo and take that reward. But it's a pity. Refining the vital goo is more of a test of one's talent. Those with better aptitude will have an advantage. His third-class talent will have no chance of winning if he doesn't use any special methods. While deep in thoughts, suddenly his brother called up to him, telling him that their aunt and uncle wants to see them, and asks him to stop drinking. So he turned around looking his brother eye to eye. Fang Jing now realized he can't muster up courage to face him. As he grits his teeth, suddenly he noticed his brother had already walked past through him. After that they are faced with their aunt and uncle giving them 6 spiritual stones as a gift, while saying they are like a family to them. So they asks the twins if they are willing to be their genuine children, so they could be real families, to which Fang Jing greatly accepted while crying his hearts out. Then they asks Fan Yuan on what his decision, and adds that they have prepared 200 spiritual stones for him as a financial support, to which he declines and leaves. After they left, their uncle and auntie converse on how hard it is to deal with Fan Yuan. They could have inherited his parents' fortune if he had just let them adopted him, but he can't inherit his parents' inheritance until 16 anyway. But he didn't fall for their scheme, because that brat is very smart. So they decided to get him expelled from their clan before he reaches 16. Then naturally he will lose the right to inherit his parents' fortune. In a change of scene, Fan Yuan is walking in the forest while thinking about how he lost his parents' inheritance in his previous life. As a result, it took him a full 2 years to reach the peak stage. But now he knows better. He don't have an outstanding aptitude or a mentor. He can only rely on his parents' inheritance to help him through the early stages of cultivation. He won't make the same mistakes again in this life. He still need to find the flower wine monk's corpse. This should be my main focus right now. Meanwhile, Fang Jing is studying hard to get the first place in the assignment and not to disappoint his new father and mother. Then Chuyer appeared in his room, advising him to take a bath because she prepared some hot water for him, making him blush. 3 days later, is refining his goo, and it's been half an hour already. He have used up more than half of high primeval essence by now, but he was only able to refine 1/12 of his moonlight goo. It's impossible to take first place with his current speed. Suddenly Chuyer appeared in his room, bringing him some food and wine, and states that it's been raining for 3 days already, and suggests they eat some food and drink some wine to ease such a depressing atmosphere. Therefore he let her in. She sits down on his lap because tonight, she wants to have a drink with young master, and adds that she have always liked him, no matter what kind of talent he has. She still wants to be with him forever, as she whispers on his ears that tonight, servant wants to give her body to him, and suggested to feed some wine to him. Then he says it's just a beauty trap, shocking her, so she asks what is he saying, but he chokes her instead, and states that it looks like aunt and uncle asked her to seduce him and then frame him. That means they have already arranged some viewers for the show, and asks what did they plan to seduce him with. Is it the 2 pile of trash on her rotten chest? While she struggles to breathe, he lets go of her and says to her does she really think that he wouldn't kill her, scaring her immensely. But he decides he will spare her life this time since she had served him for many years, and advises her if she wants to get out from slavery she should go find his younger brother. Then He's rather silly and naive. And then he leaves, and it looks like he can't stay at home anymore, so he decided to go out. While he is eating, he could only think. He only have 4 spiritual stones left, and it takes at least 7 to 8 stones to refine his moonlight goo. Not to mention the flower wine monk's liquor worm. He is far from having enough spiritual stones. 1 spiritual stone is equivalent to a month's worth of living expense for a normal household, and refining a liquor worm would take at least 20 spiritual stones. Based on his current strength, he can only hope to stumble across the flower wine monk's inheritance, but he had been trying to attract the liquor worm for a week already. Meanwhile, the thugs got into a fight with a rank 1 goo master over a green bamboo wine. While he threatens anyone has the balls to continue drinking this green bamboo wine and oppose him, suddenly another person ordered the wine, and it turns out that it was fang yuan. The rank 1 goo master states that naturally, this doesn't apply to fellow mates, so he lets him off. Then fang yuan went over to the forest again, on his last chance. This is his final gamble, but as time passes he believes that it's time for him to give up, otherwise he won't have enough spirit stones to refine his moonlight goo. As he goes back, the moonlight shines upon the rock he poured his liquor, and now he sees the liquor worm. He noticed it looks drunk. He can find the flower wine monk as long as he follow it, following it to a cave hidden behind the waterfall. He have finally found the flower wine monk. As he was about to grab his inheritance and liquor worm, fang yuan was shocked to hear a voice coming from behind. While he thinks who it was who followed him, he decides to negotiate. As he turns his head, he noticed the hologram-like images displaying the history of the flower wine monk before his untimely death. The wine monk was about doing business with them, and the prices he gave were reasonable, and yet they tried to poison his wine, to use his head to raise their fame and reputations. But now this enrages the wine monk, defeating the 4th generation clan leader. The clan leader was on his knees and begging for his life, so the wine monk accepted to spare his life in exchange for 3,000 spiritual stones and stalks of moon orchid each week. But the clan leader launched a sneak attack restricting his usage of primeval sea, and now the clan leader is asking for the wine monk to surrender to him. But the wine monk just killed him on the spot. In result, the wine monk had to fight all of them while not using his primeval sea. As fang yuan see this, he now knows the whole truth. Their elders changed the story completely. No wonder that heartbroken goo master didn't dare to usurp his inheritance. So what he was afraid of was this: if their clan finds this projection, they'll definitely erase it. After that, he went over to the corpse and claimed his prize, but he only got 15 spiritual stones, and most of his goo have died off because no one fed them primeval essence. Looks like this liquor worm is his biggest reward for tonight. He then thinks of something to profit more of this findings, so he decides to sell the projections to the other 2 villages. He will definitely benefit more from them than telling it to his clan. That will be his biggest reward. Next, he will have to refine his liquor worm. As long as he has a vital goo, he can return to the academy and live in the academy dorm. Furthermore, I can also utilize some of the clan's resources because living in an inn is too expensive. Right now he only have 17 spiritual stones. It takes 5 spiritual stones to refine a moonlight goo and at least 11 spiritual stones to refine the liquor goo, meaning he needs to use 16 spiritual stones at bare minimum. Although the liquor worm is only a rank 1 goo, it's extremely rare and difficult to refine and can compensate for his lack of talent. No matter what, he must refine this liquor worm at all cost. First, he must focus on his primeval sea. This liquor worm can raise the quality of his primeval essence. It can turn his lower realm primeval essence into middle realm. In this way, his primeval essence will surpass the people in the same stage as him and raise the speed of his refinement process. But this liquor worm has a strong resistance. In it ally, it should have been a rank 5 goo, but after being starved for so long, the liquor worm dropped back to being a rank 1 goo. If this goes on, don't talk about 17 spiritual stones. Even 30 won't be enough. At this rate, he won't be able to fully refine it even within a month, unless a higher ranked goo master comes to assist him. But he knows nobody would help a 3rd-class talent for free, while he laughs in acceptance of his own shitty luck. The next day, he have spent the entire night refining his liquor worm, but it hasn't even reached 1%. Suddenly his little brother appeared, asking what exactly he did to Shinsue, but fang yuan ignored him. So his little brother continued to ridicule him on what happened to Shinsue. To which fang yuan slapped him in response, and asks how dare he talk to him with that kind of tone, and reminds him that Shinsue is only a servant. Did he already forget that he is his brother because of her? Shock can be seen on Fang Zhen's face because this is the first time his brother hits him. Therefore he retaliates with words and says to his brother that he is only a third-class talent, so he is harboring jealousy towards him. He can't blame him for this, to which Fang Yuan slapped him again, and respond to Fang Zhen that he is an insolent fool, and reminds him how he treated him since they were young, and asks him that does he really think he would be alive today without him, and now he is questioning his actions over a mere servant girl. Did a dog eat your heart? Therefore he remembers the kindness his brother showed to him, and realized that he went overboard, but before he could apologize, Fang Yuan advises him to forget it, because he had even abandoned his real mother and father, so this brother of his probably meant nothing to him. Therefore he decides that from today onwards he is not his younger brother anymore and he is no longer his elder brother, shocking Fang Zhen. Then Fang Yuan tells him to rest assured, he didn't do anything to Shinsui, she's still a virgin. So he negotiates to give him 6 spiritual stones in exchange for her, but he declares he is not trading while giving him 5.5 spirit stones. In the end their brotherly relationship only amounts to a few spiritual stones, while Fang Zhen was happy now that he can finally have Shinsui for himself. 2 days later, Fang Yuan have spent 12 spiritual stones to refine the liquor worm, but he had only managed to refine 1/15 of it, and in the next few days, someone will successfully refine their goo. But falling behind for a moment doesn't mean much at all. As long as he have this liquor worm, unexpectedly an adverse reaction happened, invading his primeval space, and it looks like he needs to take another gamble. As long as he can withstand the shock, it will greatly weaken the liquor worm's resistance in the future. Suddenly a familiar aura have emerged. It turns out it was the Chunchio cicada. Meanwhile, the uncle was shocked that Fang Zhen traded 6 spiritual stones for Shinsui. To which Fang Zhen explained that he thinks it's chivalrous to help others, but his uncle informs him that Shinsui belongs to their family. She does not belong to Fang Yuan. He could have told them and they would have given her to him, making Fang Zhen realize he was scammed by his own brother. Then the uncles gave him another 6 spiritual stone and asks him to leave. While they acknowledge that fact that Fang Yuan is really a cunning bastard, and is hard to deal with, he left the house in order to avoid their traps. Not only did their beauty scheme failed, but in contrast he cheated 6 spiritual stones out of them, and they wish if only he was as stupid as Fang Zhen, but he is still a third-rate talent, and their clan rule states that a 16-year-old can have their own family as long as they have rank 1 middle stage cultivation, therefore they have still hope in claiming his inheritance. At the same time Fang Yuan was ecstatic because he didn't think his Chunchio cicada would also reincarnated with him. Now he realized it doesn't disappear after you use it. What's more miraculous is, this Chunchio cicada became his vital goo. To begin with, a moonlight goo is better than average, and the liquor worm is much superior than that. But in comparison to a rank 6 Chunchio cicada, it's like comparing a pile of shit to the ground. His Chunchio cicada had reversed time back to 500 years ago, so it's extremely weak right now and its vivid body from before looks like dead wood. But it's good for him. Otherwise its presence could have easily obliterated his small primeval space and killed him instantly. Although he can't use his Chunchio cicada right now, he can still use its presence to suppress the other goos in this way. Refining them would become a piece of cake. Therefore he succeeded. While he laughs because having the Chunchio cicada is like having a helping hand from God himself. In the future he can refine any low-ranked goo without using any spiritual stone. A rank 1 goo master possessing a rank 6 vital goo. What an unbelievable story. This will change his plans completely. But first, he needs to claim first place and obtain his rewards. In a change of scene, the servant reports to the elder that there is a student standing outside of their academy. He is from the Fang family. He said he had already finished refining the moonlight goo. The teacher elder concludes that it couldn't be from Fang Yuan. Therefore he went out and congratulate on a good job, and add that he didn't disappoint him. As expected of a first-class talent, none of those second and third-class talents could ever compare to him. And how could that fake genius brother of him ever compare to him as expected? A real genius is completely different from the others. He must keep up the good work. While he laughs, Fang Yuan retreats, and clarifies that the teacher elder is wrong, because Guyue Fang Jing is his younger brother, and he is Guyue Fang Yuan, while he gives his greeting to the elder. Everyone present was shocked and couldn't believe he was first. The next day, Fang Jing was running with excitement on his eyes because he finally has succeeded in refining his goo. while encouraging himself that he is a first-class talent. As long as he works hard, nobody can beat him. And says that his brother and everyone else who have looked down on him from today onwards, he wants them all to look at him in a new light. But, as soon as he arrives, his dreams was shattered immediately. The guards informs him that his brother got first place for this semester. He couldn't believe what he heard, because his brother is only a third-class talent, and they must be mistaken. But the guards clarified to him that this matter was confirmed by the elder himself, and they will release a post in a while. He can go see it for himself later. So he went over to see the post, to confirm it with his own eyes, but he was completely defeated, while thinking, how is that possible? How did he do it? If it were Mabe or Chicheng with second-class talent, then he could understand. But why must it be his brother, when he had worked harder than him, while he, who did nothing but drink all night, got first place? Is there no justice in this world? When he thought he had just gotten over this huge mountain, the others couldn't believe it either. Meanwhile, in the Mo family, Mabe still hasn't finished refining his goo, and it seems like he also took a blow. Originally he was only a bit away from refinement. He would have been fine if it was Fangjing who took first place. Even the elder couldn't believe it that a first-class talent lost to a third-class talent. While he believes a goo master will always have to go through lots of hardships, if he can't even withstand a blow like this, then how will he lead our Mo family in the future? So he decides that no one is allowed to help Mabe. While in the Chi family, the elder comforts Chicheng, and makes him believe that Fang Yuan just got lucky. He probably has a weak-willed goo, that's why he got first place. And because Chicheng is also only a third-class talent, he will use a third-rank goo to help him suppress his moonlight goo so he can refine it. Even Fangjing tries to cope by fooling himself that next time he won't lose to his brother. Dozens of days later, in the martial arena, the teacher is about to teach them how to use their goo to induce an attack. First of all, they must use their mind to control their moonlight goo. So he demonstrates it to them, and cutting the dummy's head, while the students were amazed by seeing the moonblade firsthand. Then the elder adds that in 3 days, they should use their moonblade to attack these rank 1 scarecrow goo. Whoever gets the best result will be rewarded with 10 spiritual stones. While the other students imitate how to use the moonlight goo, Fangjing believes he can defeat his brother this time, but his attention was brought to the scarecrow being decapitated. He then went to look at his brother as his heart raced, but everyone was also confused on who did launch the moonblade. Therefore he concludes that it couldn't be his brother as he sighs with relief. While Fan Yuan decides it's better to stay low-key for the time being. After that, Fan Yuan bought a grass scarecrow from a familiar face. Then he went to a restaurant to eat, while he thinks that right now feeding his goo are a problem. Moonlight goo eats moon orchid petals and liquor worm eats green bamboo wine. Just these 2 goo would require him to spend 1 spiritual stone per day. Although he did acquire some more spiritual stones lately, but feeding and cultivating these goo won't get any easier. Right now he only have 22 spiritual stones left, and it is a good thing that his Junshio cicada lives off the sunlight. Otherwise he won't be able to afford a rank 6 goo's food. And it looks like he will have to do something about his situation within the next few days. Suddenly the waiter informs him that in the next 10 days or so there will be caravans coming to their store. They usually buy a large amount of green bamboo wine, so he is afraid when that time comes they will be out of stock. The owner knows he likes to drink the green bamboo wine, so he told him to give him a heads up. This made him think, because 1 jar of green bamboo wine can last for 4 days. If he switch it with another type of wine, he will need a large quantity of them. This will arouse some suspicion. Looks like he can only purchase more right now, so he decides to take 5 jars. While he thinks that raising a goo is like raising a mistress. 3 days later, in the martial arena, the physical instructor is teaching them about using their physical strengths. After that, the moonblade exam starts. The teacher states the rules: 5 people per round, just like last time. Use their moonblade to attack 3 times. They get 1 point for hitting the limb, 2 points for the trunk, 3 points for the neck, and 4 points if they can severe it. 12 points is a perfect score, and the person with the highest score will get first place. Then they start. First group was a fail. Next group, the teacher called Mabe, Chicheng, a battle between 2 second-class talents. So the students believes this is gonna be good to watch. Mabe made 5 points while Chicheng made 6, making happy he won against Mabe, while he adds that the real threat here is Fangjing, as he anticipates what he will do next. Next group, Fangjing was called. When he was about to cast the moon blade, he thinks about his brother, triggering his PTSD. In result, his aim was off, but luckily the attack hits the neck. This made the teacher impressed on how accurate his aiming is, but Fang Jing knows that it was all an accident. Then he hits the target 3 times and receives a total of 7 points, a good score and the highest score so far. While the others believes Fang Jing will get first place this time, but there's one more group left, and it's Fang Yuan's turn. While the other students has low expectations towards him, even one of the students even bet that he will eat shit if he gets first place, as they make him to be the best third-class talent ever. But only tension is on the eyes of Fang Jing as he waits for his brother's attack. Then Fang Yuan attacks, missing the target completely. In result, the others laugh at him, and the teacher now believes he just got lucky, while Fang Jing couldn't help to conceal his laugh, because now, he believes he won, because his brother only has 2 strikes left. How could he possibly win against him? Even if his dog's hit luck comes back, he can at most only obtain 6 points, sarcastically challenging his brother to severe the scarecrow. Believing that his future is always going to be better is merely a lie used to deceive children. While he thinks his brother should give up now, because he doesn't stand a chance anymore, even the gods up in heaven can't save him this time. Then the second attack launched. Fang Jing still mocks his brother, but in an instant his demeanor changed, seeing the third attack, severing the scarecrow, obtaining 8 points. Shocking everyone, now this broke Fang Jing, while thinking he won't acknowledge this, therefore he wants a rematch. While he shouts that this isn't right, and accuses his brother of cheating, he clearly didn't severe it in one go, so why does he get 8 points? The elder points out to the cut. Only 2 moonblades can make a cut like that, otherwise why would there be a deeper and a shallow cut? If the scarecrow's head had been intact, his moonblades would have cut through it both times. His 8 points isn't a mistake. So the elder declares the first place of this exam is Fang Yuan. Hatred, jealousy filled his heart as he couldn't accept the reality. Fang Yuan went up to his brother to mock his foolishness. After that he gets his prize from the elder. Now the elder teach them about how to raise their cultivation. The higher their cultivation, the more condensed their primeval essence becomes. A rank 1 Gu Master has green copper primeval essence. A rank 2 Gu Master has iron red, and a rank 3 Gu Master has white silver. Each time they rise in a rank, their primeval essence will equal to 10 times of the previous rank. They must remember, a Gu are only tools to help them grow. Their cultivation is their true foundation. Then he adds that the next exam will start in 3 months. Whoever advances to middle stage first will be rewarded with 30 spiritual stones. At the same time they will elect a class leader and 2 vice leaders based on their performances, and these people will get extra allowances. After that the student were searching for Fang Yuan, and where did he run off to? At the same time they think that he left because he's ashamed of his dog's hit luck in today's exam, while trying to fool themselves that they are still better than him. Mabe decides to look outside for Fang Yuan. At the same time Fang Yuan is outside standing at the front of the gate. The students notice Fang Yuan's presence and tries to mock him while they pass by, but they soon eat some hands because Fang Yuan's goal is to plunder them spiritual stones. Therefore he states that if they want to leave, they should give him 1 piece of spiritual stone. As this happened, people started to gather, but Fang Yuan defeats them easily. The word spreads about Fang Yuan fighting everyone who wants to leave. Therefore more students gather at the gates to challenge him, but their strength couldn't compare to him as he plowed their face into the concrete. Mabe arrives at the scene, while Fang Yuan still requires him to give 1 spiritual stone, otherwise his consequence will be the same as the people lying on the ground. This angered Mabe, so he launched an attack while he says to Fang Yuan that he can't beat him, a second-class talent with his third-class trash talent. And he adds he has been practicing martial arts since he was young and nobody in their age is his match. But Fang Yuan fingered his throat violently, knocking him out instantly. Then he knocks out the few remaining people. Then he asks them again about the spirit stones. At the same time the guards informs the elder about what's happening, but it turns out the elder is watching the happenings already. While he admires Fang Yuan's battle demeanor, the guard asked him if he's going to stop them. The elder responds that why would he stop them? The show is just getting started, and he's still waiting for the climax. Meanwhile the other student still tries to resist, but was easily knocked out. Then the girls tried to threaten that they will use their moonblade. Fang Yuan reminds them that the academy forbids them from using their gu to fight, otherwise they will be expelled. while this made them hesitate. So Fang Yuan knocks them out too. This made the other girl scared, so she offered to give him all the spirit stones she has. But Fang Yuan only took one because he only asked for one. Then he lets her go. While the guard is still pestering the elder, saying Fang Yuan is acting too arrogant, he dares to plunder right under their eyes. And as long as he give an order, he and his subordinates will go take care of this matter. The elder responds that there is no need, because everything is under control. Nothing serious will happen. Instead, this will help the students grow, while he pities that Fang Yuan only has a third-class talent, because this child is a natural-born fighter. But the guard still wasn't contented. Therefore he adds that Fang Yuan is acting too arrogant. He doesn't even put them in his eyes. This statement angers the elder, and asks him on what does he meant by them, because he remembers that the guard's surname isn't Guyu, so just who do he thinks he is? The elder reminds them that they are all just servants who were lucky enough to be spared with the position of a guard. Don't forget they are nothing but slaves. As for those kids who carries the surname of Guyu, they are their masters. How dare a servant voice their opinion to their masters? Therefore the guards kneel and ask for forgiveness, while the elder relieves the arrogant guard of his position, and informs the other that they will elect another chief head in half a month's time. This news made the other guards delighted. Then the elder dismissed them, while he thinks that servants are like dogs. Every now and then he must give them a beating, to hold a stick in one hand and a carrot in the other. That's the secret to climbing up in the hierarchy. Meanwhile Fang Jing arrived at the scene, and asks his brother on how could he do this. But Fang Yuan is still asking them to hand over one piece of spiritual stone, otherwise they shall bear the consequences of their action. Fang Jing asked if he must pay as well. Fang Yuan replied that of course he doesn't have to pay. He thanks his brother and leaves, but Fang Yuan adds that his consequence will be the same as them. This shocks Fang Jing, while Fang Yuan pointed his arms towards him and warns to not make him repeat himself again. Therefore, they paid him one spirit stone each, but before they could leave, Fang Yuan asks them that do they really think he would squat down one by one and search their bodies for spiritual stones. After that, Fang Yuan went to the store to buy 20 jars of green bamboo wine, while he thinks there are 57 people in his class and 56 of them surrendered their spiritual stones to him. Including his reward, he has a total of 79 spiritual stones, but he had already used up half of them. These spiritual stones sure don't last long. In the future he would need even more spiritual stones than now, so it looks like he needs to start plundering on a regular basis. Meanwhile Fang Jing reports to his father what happened today. This made him angry, but it was fine. It's just one spiritual stone, so he ordered him to go get another one from his accounting room. After he left, the aunt says that this is good for them, because Fang Yuan will probably get expelled very soon. The uncle doesn't agree, and adds that Fang Yuan might not even get punished at all. So, she asks why, to which he replies that this world is full of danger and they are in need of people like him the most. Therefore as long as there aren't any severe injuries, they would most likely encourage fights like these in the academy. Moreover, it's only one spiritual stone. The students can still tolerate it. If he took any more than that, the elders would probably interfere. This enrages the auntie because those spiritual stones will help with his cultivation greatly, so she asks her husband to think of a way to stop him. He responds on what can he do. It's not like he can rob him because that would be such a joke. Therefore he decides they can do right now is to encourage Fang Jing to fight back. Meanwhile at the Qi family, Qi Jing's grandpa says that he can't lend him any help because he is not only a representative of their clan, he must also keep up their clan's image. If he had helped him, the other elders will think of him as a weak-willed successor. Then they will lose faith in their Qi family and abandon them. The same goes for the Mo family, so nobody will get help from their family. Their Qi family needs a successor who possesses great strength. Only in that way can they maintain power in their clan, and that is also why he risked his position to help him fake his second-class talent. Qi Jing responds that he understands, while Fang Jing is thinking his brother made a huge blunder this time, and he believes that he will probably get expelled, and he asks himself if when that time comes, should he beg for mercy for him. At the same time his thoughts are mixed between thinking his brother deserves his punishment, or not because he is still his blood-related brother. Even if he doesn't acknowledge him he should still beg for mercy for him, otherwise how would other people see him? Then, he punched the wall in frustration while asking himself what to do. 3 days later, The physical instructor is delighted to see his students finally understanding the importance of using their fist and feet as he encouraged them, while he ridiculed Fang Yuan for being a lazy like a snake. The elder teacher responds that it's exactly that lazy person over there who caused this turn of events. 4 days later, Family Day, the students are fed up with Fang Yuan robbing them, as they are confident in defeating him this time, but Fang Yuan just says the same line, and that he requires 1 spiritual stone per person or bear the consequences. Mabe appeared and is the first one to challenge him, so he attacks with a barrage of punches, but Fang Yuan dodges them easily, and then he counters with striking his neck, knocking him out cold. Then Chi-Ching is next and was planning to show his special move, but Fang Yuan kicked him on the temple. Then Fang Jing tries to join the fight, but he was easily defeated too. Seeing the top 3 being knocked out easily, they all charge at Fang Yuan at the same time, but they were all defeated. As Fang Yuan left with his loot, this angers Mabe, saying he won't let him off. At a later time, Fang Yuan is eating his food. While he thinks about including today's profit, he has more than 90 spiritual stones right now. As he thought, these kind of underhanded businesses makes the most profit, and it's a good thing the major families wouldn't lend a helping hand, otherwise things wouldn't have gone so smoothly. Then a loud voice suddenly entered the restaurant asking for Guyu Fang Yuan. Not a moment passed, a big servant appeared in front of Fang Yuan, saying to him that he's in real deep shit right now, but Fang Yuan ignored him and continues eating. Therefore he throws the food in front of him, saying he have injured his young master Mabe and right now Miss Moyen is looking for him to take revenge, and adds that he is dead for sure today. Few hours ago, Moyen, a second rank, middle stage Gu master, came back to her family. Then she asks about her family. The servants responds that master is fine but young master Mabe is being bullied in school. Therefore she went over to Mabe, and inquires what happened. Mabe didn't say anything because he is not a wimp. But her sister is cunning as she looks at the picture that is pinned on the log that Mabe was punching. Then she went over to her grandfather. He asked about her investigations, but before that she asked what happened to her little brother. She tried to ask Mabe but he wouldn't tell her, so she could only ask him. Her grandfather ordered to answer his previous question first. Therefore she reports about the wolf den, and it is almost full, based on their current breeding rate. Although there might not be a wolf tide this year, there will definitely be one next year. He responds that's to be expected. There's usually a wolf tide once every 3 years, but the problem is, how many Thunder Crown wolves are there? She answered that is about 3. If that's the case then it's not that scary. The Guyu, by family, and the Xiong family can each handle one of them. After that she asked again about what happened. He replies with a smile that someone beat Mabe up once 7 days ago and once today. It's a good beating. She asks him how could you say that? Mabe is his dearest grandson. He responds that she knows she have always doted on her younger brother, but he asks her to not interfere this time, because failure and humiliation can help one grow. Isn't it a good thing that he's practicing again after his setback? And he adds that if she truly cares about him then don't interfere with his growth. Furthermore, this is the rules. If she bullies the weak then other people will look down on their MO family. A man don't always need love or family, but they cannot lack a rival. Then he asks her to leave. She left while thinking that this is his way of doting on your grandson, but she also have her own way of doting on him. She then asks her servant named Gaoan to find out who that man on that stake, because she will personally go take care of him. Back to the present, Gaoan is acting all high and mighty, while mocking Fang Yuan because he knows he's got a backup, but Fang Yuan wasn't moved by his provocations, because all he see is a dead meat talking. Then, Moyen arrived at the scene. Fang Yuan noticed her emblem. Seeing that he is eating quite well, she wonder if he has ever eaten a fist before, perhaps that might taste even better, and then asks if he is Fang Yuan. He responds, who said he was Fang Yuan? She then look at Gaoan coldly, and concludes that in front of her is Fang Jing. No wonder he doesn't feel any fear. She have already heard that the twin brothers looked very similar. But could it be that he's pretending? She curses because her dumb servant didn't even investigate properly and now she can't get herself out of this situation. She decides to deal with Gaoan when she returns home. Suddenly Gaoan shouts that he's pretending. He is really Fang Yuan, and points at the bag beside him, and concludes that it must be the spiritual stones he had plundered today. Therefore Moyen asks her junior brother to please open his bag for her to see. To which he responds, why must she make things so complicated? She just want to find Fang Yuan. He will take them to his dorm, because they can find him there. At the same time, Moyen is thinking that he's too composed. A mere 15-year-old child can't possibly keep up an act like this, and furthermore, even if it's spiritual stones inside that bag, she still can't 100% confirm that he is Fang Yuan. Fang Jing is their clan's new star. If he really is him, then she also doesn't want to offend him. And if he is Fang Yuan, then following him won't be a bad decision either. Therefore she decides it's fine, and lead the way. After arriving at the academy gates, the guards ask them to stop, because the academy only allows their clan's Gu masters to enter and exit. Moyen retaliates, therefore the guards finds a way to compromise, and propose that they will allow her to bring one servant with her, and adds this is the best they can do. She complies and commands Gaoan to follow her, and everyone else stay behind. After that, they arrived at his room, and Fang Yuan went inside. She asks what does this mean, because there's nobody in this room. To which he responds, aren't he a person? She clarifies that the person she is looking for is Fang Yuan. With a calm demeanor he replies that he doesn't think he ever said he wasn't Fang Yuan. This made her angry, while she laughs at the fact she was deceived, so she launched an attack, but Fang Yuan calmly warns Moyen that she must think this through very carefully, making her halt her attacks. Their clan rule states that academy students will be protected while living inside the academy dorm. Nobody is allowed to enter the academy dorm to fight with a student. She then grits her teeth while thinking if it was just her who broke the rules, then that would be fine, but she cannot drag her family and grandfather down with her. Fang Yuan then says he also didn't lie to her. He did say he will help them find Fang Yuan, and they did find him, and if they have got anything else to say, then say it now. She laughs provokingly and states that he sure knows their clan rules very well, but he can't stay inside his dorm forever. She will wait here and see who wins this race. He instructs her to go ahead. He also wants to see how long she can block him for, and adds it's night already. He can sleep in his bed, but what about her? And if he doesn't show up in class by the next day, does she really think that the elder won't personally come to check up on him? And he asks what does she think he would tell him then? She angrily replies to him on does he really think she doesn't have the guts to kill him right here? In a calm manner he provokes her to do it. Now she asks herself why, when clearly she can reach him if she stretch out her arms, but it's as if they're a mountain cliff's distance away. Then Fang Yuan lets out a little laugh and turns toward his bed, while thinking how pathetic. Sometimes what is restricting us humans is not only the present problem itself, but also our emotions. Humanity have sought for knowledge relentlessly to understand the world and the rules governing this world, but instead of using its rules, they end up letting these rules restrict themselves. You have a rank 2 cultivation, yet you couldn't do anything to me. This is the real sad story here. While Moyen is annoyed that this sly brat actually dares to cultivate right in front of her, she then shouts at pathetic provocations to lure out Fang Yuan, but she failed. Therefore she asks Gaoan to stay here and guard him for her, because she doesn't believe that he can stay inside forever. He accepts while he cries. While Fang Yuan cultivates and thinks as expected of a liquor worm, it's converting his beginner stage primeval essence into a middle stage primeval essence. In this way can make up for his lack of talent. Most of the students here will be using their beginner stage primeval essence to cultivate, but he will use a middle stage one. His cultivation should be 2 times more effective than theirs. At the same time, using middle stage primeval essences to launch his Moonblade will greatly increase its destructive power. The Moonblade is the only thing he can rely on at the moment. After a while he has finished converting his beginner stage primeval essences into a middle stage primeval essence. Next up it's time for him to settle some businesses. Gaoan noticed Fang Yuan finally opened his eyes, so he provokes him to come out. Therefore Fang Yuan faced him. He then launched an attack to his weak spot, but Gaoan blocks it. He then launched a counter-attack. While Fang Yuan thinks that this Gaoan does know a few moves, he's probably at the peak stage of martial arts for a mortal. With his current body, he is afraid he is no match for him if they just fight with their fists. He might even be able to kill him. While Gaoan now realized Fang Yuan is too crazy because he actually used his fists right away and almost hit him in his vital spot. No wonder their young master couldn't beat him. At the same time his attack never lands on Fang Yuan, and now he knows Fang Yuan is too immoral, because each time he launches an attack he aims for his vital spots. It's as if he wants him dead, but he cannot kill him, otherwise the Guyu clan won't let him live. But he believes no matter how strong Fang Yuan is, he's still only a child. His body can't possibly be stronger than him. As long as he can capture this kid, then his job will be done here. When that time comes, First Miss will definitely reward him generously. But his thoughts were interrupted by Fang Yuan aiming at his eyes to blind him. He blocks it in a nick of time. Then he launches a barrage of attack, confidently, because he believes Fang Yuan wouldn't dare to use a gu inside the academy, because of the rules. Before Fang Yuan uses his Moonlight Gu, he reminds himself to control the Moonlight Gu's strength and get rid of him without exposing his middle stage primeval chi. Otherwise, once people finds out about his liquor worm, he cannot imagine what would happen afterwards. Gaoan asks if he dares to use his Gu inside the academy. Fang Yuan calmly replies, "So what if he is going against the rules, while launching 3 moon blades all at once?" Gaoan block it using his hands because he knows a rank 1 Gu master's moonblade would at most feel like a small cut, and as long as he doesn't hit his vital spot, it'll only be some physical injuries. But before he could recover, Fang Yuan followed up his attack, striking his open cut, but Gaoan still recovered and counters attack. As he thought, he is still too weak, and looks like he can only use that now, so he launched an attack using a middle stage primeval chi. Gaoan thinks it's an ordinary moonblade, therefore he receives it head-on, but he realized as soon as he sees a deep cut on his arm he was mistaken, therefore he attempts to run away. As he cries for someone to help him, the guards tries not to mind him, because he is just Miss Moyen's servant, and they believes that Fang Yuan is still young, so he won't dare to kill anyone just yet, and instead, they should be careful of that Gaoan hurting Fang Yuan. Gaoan called up to them saying they're bastards, because none of them carry the last name of Guyu. How could they just watch him die? While Fang Yuan with an indifferent eyes says to him, he can scream all he wants, nobody will come to save him even if he screams until his throat breaks, while slashing his throat. For the last time he begs for his life, but Fang Yuan couldn't careless, and made his head fly without its body. The guards who were present was shocked seeing Fang Yuan kill someone. Fang Yuan ordered them to come over to him, and give him their sword, so they complied. He then thinks about Gaoan's wounds is enough to reveal the secret of his middle stage primeval chi, and in turn, this secret will expose the existence of his liquor worm, and they might even connect it back to the flower wine monk. These guards saw him use his moonblade to kill him, so lying would be impossible. On the other hand, if there aren't any witnesses, then his secret won't be exposed. If that's the case, he will just kill them all. But before he could, other guards appeared. Now he knows there's too many people here, and he doesn't have much primeval chi left. He won't be able to kill them all, so it looks like Gaoan will have to suffer for a bit more. The guard asks Fang Yuan to leave this to them. They will take care of Gaoan for him. He responds that they don't need to and commands them all to leave. The guards couldn't believe what they're witnessing, as they ask themselves, is he really only a child? To which one of the guards replies that Fang Yuan is a real demon. The next day, the word spreads about Fang Yuan killing a servant from the Mo family, and it is talked about by everyone in the class, and it looks like Mabe will be in big trouble this time. They wonder how Fang Yuan will deal with him later. Just thinking about it gives them shivers. Now they asks why did they even fight with such a ruthless person. Meanwhile, Fang Yuan met up with the elder, and talks about what happened. Fang Yuan states that he knows. He broke the rules. He used his gu inside the academy. According to the rules, first-time offenders will have to pay out 30 spiritual stones. This made the elder angry and warns him to not take him lightly, and demands an answer, how Gaoan died. Fang Yuan responds that Gaoan offended his master and he possesses a toxic heart. Last night, not only did he block his door, but he also wanted to kill him. In order to defend himself, he had to use his Moonlight Gu to kill the traitor. He also suspects he is secretly working for the other villages, and asks the elder to pass out the right judgment. This made the elder think about this child being too sly. Now that Gaoan is dead, he can say whatever he wants, and Gaoan is only a mortal. Nobody cares if he's dead, but he's still a servant from the Mo family, and since he died inside their academy, they still need to give them an explanation. At first he had wanted them to suppress his arrogance a bit, but he didn't think he would actually kill Gaoan. This kid is acting so calm and composed as if he didn't kill anyone here. How troublesome. He just hope he won't do anything unpredictable again. The elder then asks him on what he did with Gaoan's corpse. Fang Yuan smiled and replies that although he did kill Gaoan, but after all, he's still a servant from the Mo family, so he needs to give the Mo family some face. That's why he dismembered his corpse into pieces and then placed them inside a wooden box. And early at dawn he left that box on Mo family's doorstep. The elder was shocked in hearing what Fang Yuan said to him.